Have you ever grabbed something off the free table, or you have inherited scraps from someone, or just something has found its way to you and you think, this is fabulous, free fabric, fantastic, now what? Today, let's answer those questions. Hi, I'm Amy and I make things. Today, I'm making my way from free to fabulous, or at least that's the plan. Come on, I'll show you what I mean. My favorite place to shop is the free table at my local quilt guild. And I'm always picking up random half-finished projects. And that's very cool and it's super fun, like a treasure hunt. But then what? Then what do I do? So I thought today I would take you soup to nuts and show you how we go from this pile of free and serendipity fabric to this. So the first thing is you've got to explore and see what you have. Once you know what you have to work with, you can make some decisions about what you're going to make. You can match a pattern to the fabrics you have. You can decide if you need to add fabric from your stash to tie it all together, and then determine what your bag of random scraps is going to grow up to be, right? So today I am specifically working with this flannel that I got from the free table. It's a bunch of layer cakes and a piece that's probably wide enough for 2 borders, but you know, I don't have enough for 3. So what I'm going to do, because it's a fantastic pattern for flannel, I like to make the Pat Sloan Oh My Stars pattern. It's adorable, it's gender neutral, it's always appropriate, it's a fantastic size, and if you have extra fabric, there's an option to add a border, and if you don't, it just ends up a little smaller. So it's a flexible pattern, and the name of the game with scrap quilting is flexibility. You have to roll with the punches and work with what you have. And sometimes you got to make it work. I'm going to start cutting and we're going to see where it leads. This is one of those quilts you kind of have to lay it out on the board to see how it's all going to come together. So, you know, I say about scrap quilting, you got to be flexible. Let's see how it looks. Sometimes looking at it in the camera, bring that warm taupey beige down there, because that color, that warm color, stands out dramatically against all these cool toned grays and blacks. I like the balance of that better. I do wish I had one more of them in the top row, but I'm working with what I've got, and this is what I've got. That's it. All right, now I will pull these blocks that surround my giraffe center star. I'll pull the blocks that need corners. Corners, words are hard. And get the corners sewn and throw it back up there and see what we're looking at. Okay, when I got it on the wall, let me show you what happened. Looks good. Love the little stars. But right here, I lose my point because this fabric matches the star points. So I'm going to do this. Swap that one. And it's a lot of brown right there, but you know, I think I'm okay with it. Flexibility, right? Flexibility is the name of the game. That works. That works. It's not perfect, but you know, it's great. And it's a baby quilt, and it's flannel, and it's cool. And it's got giraffes. I mean, you know, it's got giraffes. Who could complain? Now I will pull it off the wall and sew it together. Okay. So I've got this up here, and I think I do like, you know, I walked away from it and came back to it today. You know, I would love to have more of this warm color going through, and I would love to have more of this plaid, but I'm working with what I had, so, right? So, I mean, I'm making the best of what I've got, and this is how it's going to turn out. Now I'm going to web the top, and this is a Bonnie Hunter technique, or at least she taught me. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this down in vertical rows. I'll take row 1 and stack them all on top of each other. Then I'll take row 2 and stack them all on top of each other. I'll do that all the way across, vertical rows down, and I'll show you how I sew it together and why that works for me. Okay, so I've got them all laid out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right. Now I will pin them together because I don't want to have to relay it out in the transport, and I will take them over to the sewing machine. Okay. Now, so to web the top, this is row 1 and this is row 2. So I'm going to take row 1, flip it over, sew it to, well, row 2, flip it over, sew it to row 1. I'm going to do that all the way down in vertical rows, and I'm going to do that for the entire top of the quilt. And then it will be held together like a little spider web with the little threads in between. Now for row 2, let me grab my little row 2 stack here. Take my pin out that's pinned at the top. It's just in a pattern so I remember it. I'm going to open the book and turn the page. Let me show you that up close. So row 2, I've got row 2 right here. And this is my, row 3. I've got row 3 right here. I've got rows 1 and 2 sewn together here. So the way I'm not going to get confused is I'm going to repeat in my mind, sometimes out loud, open the book and turn the page. So I open it up, and then I flip the square from row 3 and sew down this seam right here. Last row. Now I'll hold it all up and show you what it looks like and what's going to happen next. Okay, it looks sad. It looks sad right now because it's just held together by these threads. Okay, so I sewed it all together, and here are the little webbing threads that go between row 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And so now what I'll do is I'll sew all those seams together, and it's all together for me and ready to go. So now what I'll do is I'll take these bits that are connected, right? and I just turn this row to the top of this one, match up nest my little seams, you know, as you do, and sew it, nest my little seams, and then sew it all the way down the side. And I do that again and again and again until it's finished. And it's all together. And my rows, the benefit of doing this is my rows don't get mixed up. And especially when you have the star points that are opposite from the star blocks, like right here. Let's see, right there. I don't get anything turned around. I don't get anything out of order because it's all connected. It's not going to fall apart. All right, so now I will do that. And you could press before you do this. I don't because, well, I can't be bothered. And it's, you know, the seams nest together really well. These are just 5-inch squares. If I were doing something where I needed more complicated matching, I might press beforehand. But in general, I do it like this. No pins, no pressing. It works out fine. It works out especially fine with the flannel because it's sticky and it wants to grip to itself. But if you are the kind of person that feels comfortable, more comfortable pinning your joins, by all means, do what you want to do. Make it work for you. Okay, last row, and then it's all together and I'll go press it. And I'm still doing my way of, you know, no pins, just nesting my seams and matching it up. And you guys know, you guys know that this is just my way. This is just a way. This is the way I do it. If you want to use pins, if you need more precision in your work, if that makes you happy, by all means, do that. Absolutely. I don't do that. I'm showing you how I do it, and I make no judgment about any other way that's out there. This is how I do it because I like to work fast and I get the result that I want. Use the tools, use the technique that gives you the result that you want. All done. I'm here at the pressing station and I'll get this pressed out and show it to you in the final edit. And you know, I can't leave well enough alone with these little corners. And they're flannel, so I won't put them with my other, these guys back here. So I will press all these out and trim them up and probably sew it into a little pin cushion. We'll see. We'll see what happens, comes of those. But since I'm here and I'm pressing things now, I'll go ahead and get those pressed as well. And we'll see what happens. Wanted to let you know. So I nested my seams on the back, but you know I didn't press anything to begin with. So what I'll do is I'll start and I'll press all my seams, you know, one direction, and then this one the other direction. And then I'll press all of my rows the same direction. And it won't be a huge problem because these are large squares and they want to go, because they're already sewn right here, they want to go the right direction. Oh no. Look what happened. I was being so clever and I thought I was doing everything right. And these stars should be turned toward this square. Because that's not a star at all. All right. Well, I'll find my seam ripper. I'll repair that one block. I'll repress it. And, well, before I do that, I'm going to check all my other stars. Make sure they're correct. Okay, they are. Just that one little boo-boo right there. All right, no big deal. I'll just rip it out, turn it, and resew it. Sometimes this is the way it goes. Ah, there we go. All better. No one will ever know. Except, you know, I just told the entire internet. But y'all won't tell anybody, will you? Nah. So I finished the quilt top from Oh My Stars, from the free table to a finished quilt top. And I don't have my helper right now for my sliding quilt system. So give me just a minute and I gotta DIY it. All right, here we go. This is how it turned out, and I think it is so cute with all those neutrals. I did add the giraffe fabric that I already had, and the stars turned out really cute. Now, I'll of course get all of those loose threads off the front before I send it off to the guild for the charity for baby bundles. But I mean, that's it. It's so soft and cuddly. I will also send the gray flannel that I have from Serendipity Fabric. I will send that along so that it can be used as backing fabric. I am sorry, crashing into things down here. I am not going to quilt it myself because I just don't have the brain space for it right now. And there are a lot of people who really enjoy quilting and doing that as part of their charity, participation for the guild. This particular scrap free table to finished challenge presented some interesting sort of creative boundaries that I needed to work within. Like I mentioned earlier in the footage that I wished it had more variety. I wished I had more of this warm beige color and maybe some more of that larger scale plaid. But I was just working with what I had. Now, if this were just regular quilting cotton, I would have grabbed something from my stash and maybe expanded the palette and expanded the variety. But because it was flannel, and I mean, there's no rule that says you can't mix regular quilting cotton and flannel. Absolutely, go ahead, do it. But because it was flannel and I wanted it to be super cozy, and I sort of had this vision of using as much of what was included in what I picked up off the table, using as much of that as possible, I was limited in my variety. I was limited in the actual amount of fabric that I had. In fact, I'll show you what's left in just a minute. And I couldn't do borders because I didn't have enough fabric, and I didn't want to use the plain gray as the border because it's a baby quilt, and I thought the plain gray would just get dingy. I just thought it wasn't a good idea. I could have done it, but I like a creative boundary. It makes me think, it makes me work a little harder. It makes me, step outside of my perfectionist tendencies. I tend to want things to be the way I want them to be, right? I mean, who doesn't? But I tend to get stuck on that. And so this challenge gave me an opportunity to just let things be what they are and be what's possible with what I have. I enjoyed it, and I will enjoy making those little flippy corner blocks are right here on my table. They're so cute. I will enjoy making the tiny pin cushion with these little flippy corners, and I'll go ahead and get that done in the next day or two so that these guys don't go everywhere and they don't end up in the lost projects ether. Oh, that was a good idea, but I never actually did it. So hang on just a minute and I'll show you what was left. I moved my chair. That's why the angle's different. Now I had pieces of a layer cake, a couple of bits of strip fabric. I mean, you saw earlier what I had. And from what I had, this is all that's left. Handful of 3-inch squares, a 2.5-inch strip, a scrap, a little bit of bias binding, some more scrap. This that I was really afraid that this fabric right here, I was afraid I was going to have too much of it in the actual quilt and have a difficult time matching things up. And one charm square. Of course, there were these two blocks, these two pre-made blocks that were left, and I think I'm going to use these. In fact, I know I am. Oh, see, this wasn't in the kit. And I could have pulled these strips off and used these charms for more variety, but they're already made, and going backward didn't seem like the thing to do. So overall, I think it turned out pretty well. Going forward, this free table to finish series will just sort of evolve based on what I pick up. I will link any tools I used, and I will link the pattern down below. It is the free Oh My Stars pattern by Pat Sloan. It's a great pattern. It's absolutely adorable. And I think for a small fee, you can get it expanded to a twin size and maybe even a full size. Larger sizes are available for a small cost. My biggest hope with this is that you see the potential in a creative boundary, that it can be an opportunity, not just a limitation. It can make you think, it can make you work a little harder, and it can lead you down a path that maybe you don't expect. Sometimes it works and sometimes we learn something. If you learned something today, do me a favor and hit that like and subscribe button for more scrappy content. I really appreciate it. And I hope that you will play with your scraps. You will think beyond your limitations. You will think beyond what is in front of you and see maybe the possibility. More than any of that, I hope you always remember that you make the world more beautiful just by being in it. I'm Amy, and I'll see you next time.